So if our students are leaving high school still thinking or treating AI as cheating, they'll hit the job site already behind and not understanding how AI is impacting the work in the CTE programs. I want you to picture this. A ninth grader drags a simple cabin sketch into Rivet, checks a suggest framing plan button, and the AI instantly spits out 3 lumber saving options, stud spacing already code checked. 30 minutes later, she's on the shop floor, a classmate flips down his welding hood, and a webcam grabs his bead quality in real time. Folks, that's not sci-fi. That's this coming semester in your CTE classrooms. Now, if none of that makes sense to you, well, you're probably not a CTE teacher. And I'm so excited that I get to record 2 episodes talking about AI in the CTE classroom. So welcome back to another episode of Shifting Schools. I'm Jeff Utecht, your host for today, as we take a deep dive into AI within your CTA trade classroom. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, I've got a cup of coffee here. This will be a little bit longer of an episode. And my goal is that you will be able to take this information. If you are a CTE teacher or you know a CTE teacher, please send them the link to this episode. But also, if you just like DIY projects, or you happen to be a homeowner, or you own a car, or things break in your house, which seems to happen to Trisha quite often, this might be a great episode for you as well. I want to point out that in April, I did a part 1 of a 2-part series with Harbor Freight Tools for Schools, who support CTE teachers across the United States with grants and funds. That YouTube video, I will put that in the link to the show notes so you can go and watch it. But I've gotten a lot of feedback about that video where I talk very high level about how AI is changing our CTE programs, changing our classrooms. And I wanted to take a little time here now to create a couple podcast episodes that might go a little bit deeper and give some real suggestions on ways that CTE teachers, especially those in the constructions and the trades classroom, can really dig in and use AI. In fact, last month, our dryer started making a crazy noise. And this is just how this works, right? We all need to know these skills. So our dryer starts making this noise, starts making this screeching noise. I'm not here. I'm out traveling, doing consulting work. And so my wife goes to ChatGPT, gives ChatGPT our make and model number of our dryer, and explains that it's making this squeaking noise. ChatGPT instantly comes back with recommendations for what might be wrong. It gives us a link to a YouTube video and even tells us what parts to order off of Amazon. My wife then, of course, takes all that information and sends me an email and says, "Oh, by the way, honey, when you get home, you have a project to do." And of course, it was amazing. I look at the YouTube video and it's our exact model of a dryer. This person is walking you through exactly how to take it apart, exactly how to change the parts. The link to the Amazon parts, the parts were correct, but the model number was not. So again, it just goes to show that one of the things we have to continue to remember with AI is that it's our job as the human to verify the information. Now, I've known people that haven't done that and ended up ordering the wrong parts, but I verified. Sure enough, the parts numbers were wrong, but Amazon had them. It was just the wrong link or the right parts, wrong part number for our model of dryer. Got it all ordered. And within 2 hours, I had the entire dryer taken apart. I'll try and see if I've got a photo my wife took with the dryer in like 100 pieces, put all the new parts in and rebuilt it. And it hasn't made a sound since. And I just keep thinking about, this is what AI can do for us, right? It can support us in doing this work. Now, I think about this in that, I have a ChatGPT Plus account that costs me $20 a month. I probably saved a year's worth of paying for ChatGPT on that one fix of our dryer. If I'd had to call a repair person or go out and buy a new dryer, what would that have cost you? Anyways, I just, it's pretty incredible what this tool can do in all sorts of ways. And today we're going to be focusing in on the trades and what this does. If you have ways that ChatGPT or generative AI have supported you in DIY projects or repairing things around your house, please share those stories with me. I'd love to hear about them over at jeff@shiftingschools.com. But here's what I want to talk about today. Today, we're going to be focusing on construction class and welding class. Those are the two classes today that I want to focus in on. And here's where we are, folks. Last year, there was a shortage of skilled labor in the United States of over 600,000 open construction roles in the US. 600,000 open construction roles. Folks, we need people in these roles to do the work. Construction and fabrication shops are plugging the gap because we have over 600,000 job openings. We're starting to plug that gap with generative AI for design, optimization, scheduling, and quality control. So if our students are leaving high school still thinking or treating AI as cheating, they'll hit the job site already behind and not understanding how AI is impacting the work in the CTE programs. So in this episode, I'm going to dig into two concrete, low-cost moves any CTE educator can pilot this coming year. Again, you could even try these in your own life. You might have to adjust them a little bit. I'm going to be focused on construction and welding in this one. But one of the things we have to think about is AI-driven building information model software, or what is known as a BMI, can generate designs for construction trades is becoming the norm. If you don't have access to a BMI, a generative AI design software, of course, you can still use the large language models, whether that be Copilot or ChatGPT or Gemini. Any one of those will do to get you started in this. But if you are a teacher in the trades, I need you to start looking for programs that have generative AI embedded in them. And many of these programs are free for educational licenses because we know we need to have the next generation of trades workers need to understand how to use this. The second thing we're going to talk about is the computer vision quality on how that might help you in a welding class. A lot of times when we think about generative AI, we think of it all being text-based, but these things are getting really good with images and videos. And we're going to leverage that today in this episode and maybe in your welding classroom. But again, it could be leveraged in any class. So let's start here with building information management software, or BMI, and talk about how this might use generative AI in construction planning. So there are two things I'm going to link in the show notes about just some industry snapshots around this. So there's a corporation out of Japan who has cut design time on high-rise projects by feeding parameters into Autodesk's generative AI tools. And Autodesk is a very well-known program for those in the construction trade. And it's dozens of structural options appear in minutes, saving 60% in the design time and early concepts. And I'll put a link to that article there. Another one is an AI-powered BIM pilot at Strasbourg in Europe, flags cost overruns and schedule clashes before a shovel hits dirt. And if anybody's ever built a home or you've had any kind of construction experience yourself, you understand one of those things is this idea of getting people all together and getting, that schedule is so important. As somebody who does rental properties, my wife and I, as I've talked here on the podcast, own a rental business. We do a lot of construction, and man, trying to schedule and keep cost overruns under control is a huge issue in the construction world. So we're going to focus on some ways we might be able to use that. So let's talk about how this might look like in a classroom. So I want to set up a classroom use case scenario, and we're going to start in the construction classroom, right? So a teacher has a construction class. Now here's something you could do, and this is just an example. Maybe you have a student who sketches a tiny house, say a 1,200 square foot tiny home, a 300 square foot tiny. They do it on hand, right? We need kids to understand proportions. You can sketch all of this by hand, not a problem. You then take a picture of it, or you scan it into a scanner, or maybe they're even drawing it by hand inside AutoCAD or inside SketchUp. There's a ton of programs that do this, but we have them build it as we want because that is still a skill we need. But then what they can do is they can import that floor plan into an AI enabled either building information management software, BIM software. The ton of them have plugins now. And again, they're free for educational use. Or you can do the same thing over at ChatGPT or Copilot. And all you would have to do is you could think about this. You take a picture of it or you upload the PDF, whatever version it's in, right? Something that you can upload. And as a teacher, this might be a prompt that you give your AI. You might say something like, you are a contractor and builder for custom homes. Optimize this cabin for 24-inch on-center stud spacing that meets 2021 IRC code and cut lumber usage by at least 8%. Give me 3 variants with cost estimates. Think about that for a second. Students can upload or teachers can upload and have conversations with kids on how you can use this. Think about that prompt. So first of all, it's a persona prompt, right? You are a contractor and builder of custom homes. I tell the AI what I need it to be. Then I'm even telling it I wanted to optimize it for a cabin for 24-inch on center. It has the design because I uploaded it. I want you to meet the latest building codes, the 2021 IRC building codes for this. And I want you to find ways to cut lumber by at least 8%. This is something you can do in your classroom. Think about how you could leverage this. Or how about this? Maybe you're a student could do the same thing, right? They upload a picture of their cabin into ChatGPT or a BIM software. BIM software would be the best, but you could use ChatGPT or Copilot or any of them. And maybe a student might even do something like this. You are a contractor professional whose job it is to support students in a construction classroom. If I rotate the roof trusses 15 inches, what happens to snow load capacity and cost per square foot? Could we even ask that question before? Could we even have kids dig in to the idea of what this would be? Now, part of it is not just what the AI is doing, right? The idea is students to print both the AI version and their manual version that they did and debate the discrepancies, then build the physical section or mock it up, right? So part of it is we want AI to do this work, but we want students to be critical thinkers. We want them to look at what AI suggests, come back to their design and say, is that something that is even usable, is plausible? What would that change do, right? You start thinking about what the payoffs are in the classroom. This idea that we're talking about math skills, that maybe not every student has those math skills. Like what happens when you change the trusses by 15 inches? What would that do? We start looking at tables. We can look at load paths. We can give it more information. We talk to students about AI assumptions. Why did it pick an LVL instead of a 2-on-10 SPF? And if all that sounds Greek to you, then go find your local CTE teacher. And then there's this sustainability piece, right? Can we show the upstream carbon difference between variants? If I'm trying, especially today, lumber is very, very expensive today. If I can cut my lumber cost by 8 or 10%, that is a huge savings. We can have students support us in the classroom, right? Lumber's expensive for your CTE teachers. So how do we get kids to be as useful as can be, right? So research has already deemed text to BIM agents that build 3D models from a chat prompt. So Vectorworks is prototyping this type of work already last August, and there's a whole article about it. And here's a quote. I love this quote out of the article. Quote, today, it's suggestions. Tomorrow, students literally will talk a building into existence. Still need real-world chops to judge if it'll stand. We are not that far from you just being able to go to a computer and talk about the house you want to build. But you are still going to need somebody that can make sure that house will stand, because the AI is going to make assumptions. It's not going to know the building code of that exact area. You know, here in Seattle, we have to make sure things are earthquake proof, but we're getting very close, and we need kids to be starting to play with these. If you are going to go into the construction trades, you need to understand how AI is already impacting those trades, and we need to prepare students for that future. All right, here's our second one. Our second one is all about computer visioning, and I'm going to use a welding class, but again, you could use this in other classes. But this idea that we think first, because that's just the way these things came out, is being text-based. But they do really amazing things with images now and video. You can upload images and video and ask it to evaluate things. And there's no better place to do this than in our CTE classrooms, and specifically in a welding classroom. Now, there are two links here to stories that I will share in the show notes. The first one is computer vision defect detection is hitting 10 times the accuracy of manual visual inspection at metal fabrication plants, according to a 2024 white paper, and I'll link that in here. Also, IBM and AWS pilot customers now inspect 100% of welds in real time. Thermal, optical, and acoustic sensors pipe into AI dashboards and tell you exactly whether or not that weld is going to hold. And AWS is building these AIs, and so is IBM, to support welding industry to make sure that welds are accurate and it moves things along a lot faster. And I'll link both of those articles in on what's happening here. But let's talk about what this would look like in the classroom, right? So all you need in the classroom is you either need some kind of camera. Now, I'm going to guess, if you're like every other student I've met, there's probably cameras everywhere. They're on the back of a cell phone. And if you had students who were allowed to bring their cell phones into class, right, you could have students practice a weld and then have them take a picture of that weld, upload it to an AI, and ask it for feedback. That's pretty incredible about things that you could be able to do with your students. Think about, if you're a teacher, how fast the feedback is for students, rather than you having to walk around in a welding shop, stopping by every stall and giving individual feedback, and kids standing there waiting for you to get to them. Kids would be getting instant feedback from their AI counterpart. Now, as a teacher, you could also leverage AI to maybe support in the setting up. And so here's one example. Here's a prompt that I think you might be able to use as a teacher in a welding classroom. Notice it's a persona prompt. You start with, you are a welding instructor. I would like you to write a setup checklist for students who are learning to use an arc welder. Make it simple and easy to follow. Include why each step is important for safety. You could have AI support you in creating up a checklist so that students can go through it when they're getting ready to weld. Now, if you are a student, you're going to be practicing your welding. You can take a picture of it, even on your phone, right inside your phone. Download the ChatGPT app, the Copilot app, whatever AI. Upload that image, and then as a student, you might write in, you are a welding examiner. Use this image to grade penetration, spatter, bead uniformity on a 1 to 10 scale, and give one tweak for each to make it better. Kids are going to get instant feedback. Practice again, take a photo. You could even set it up as a teacher to say, only after you've been scored an 8 by your AI feedbacker, only then do you call over the teacher to look at the quality of the bead, right? So you think about this, right? This idea of instant diagnostics means more arc time, less standing in feedback lines. Kids are going to be able to practice welding faster. Students see how machine learning patterns tie to physical cues, the sounds, the colors, the pulls. If you take a video, it would be able to hear the sound and be able to look at the actual weld. You'll have to there's a lot you'd have to do. Welding teachers would know this, but you can, when you're welding, you have to wear one of those masks, but you can buy that same filter for your phone or for a camera that you could put on it. But you also start to build critical skepticism about AI as well, because the AI says my welding bead is fine, but does it meet the bend test? Can it bend and not break, right? So just things to be thinking about. And we're looking at this, right? In 5 years, here's what, I love this, a welding defect detection video and audio research coming out right now. And here's what a great, great article, and I'll make sure to share this again in the show notes. But I love this quote. In 5 years, those head-mounted helmets could whisper, slow your travel speed 3% in the student's ear. Think driver assist, not driver replacement. We're getting to a point where Welders are going to have feedback right inside their helmets. Hey, slow down. Hey, your temperature is too hot. You go back and try that one again. Right inside your earpiece. It's going to speed up the entire process. And we've got to be teaching kids how to start leveraging this. So here we go. Action items for you educators. First of all, start small. Find one class, one project. Go out maybe this summer and look for your free education license. We know that Autodesk has one, Tremble, or there's other open source ones that are coming up all the time. Look for those. Maybe if you go out to your company, if you already have AutoCAD or whatever you might have, and ask them that you would like to pilot it. What a great way to get started. Build prompts into your rubrics. Grade the question quality students ask AI, not just the finish point. Start thinking about if you are in construction class, how are you gathering the prompts that kids are asking so you can see what are the questions students are asking their AIs. Find a way to gather the prompts. We call that transparency in AI use. I want to see the prompts, not just the products that it does. Find a way to document it. Have students log material saved, defects avoided, or real data. You can even just do a reflection afterwards. What was it like having an AI feedback loop in your ear, or every time you did a weld? What was that like? And also remember that it's all about safety first. So AI suggestions never override code, SDS sheets, or the instructor's eye, period, right? Be safe first. You don't always trust your AI. That's the critical thinking part. You have to understand that. And we need to make sure that kids understand that as well. So here we go, man. Trades aren't going away. They're gearing up. Our job is to prepare students for their future, not our past. And when we're talking about the trades, we need to make sure that the next generation of our trades workers, we are graduating them with the skills that are expected of them in the workplace. If you pilot either of these ideas, either in your own class, or you are a CTE teacher, or you send this to a CTE teacher, please drop me a line. Let me know, jeff@shiftingschools.com. Or if you use AI already in your trades classroom, I would love to hear about it and maybe even get you on the podcast to share. 2 great ways to be thinking about using AI inside of our trades classrooms. So many great ways to use this technology. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate you. And until next time, we'll see you on the network.